everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengal fan on all the important platforms. Here, repping the Bengals on a recap show. I am joined again by Sam Schneider from Primetime Sports, and we are here. Well, I'll tell you, this will sum it up. I've already got the Island beer out. I went with the Kona Light. But this is what the Bengals do. They drive you to drinking. So the game had its ups and downs, good and bad. There's always good and bad in every Bengal game. But, what are your thoughts, Sam? Let me take a swig of this and you.
Yeah, sure. Once again, like we talked about in the preview and even after the game last week, there were a lot of crummy things that we weren't happy about. And there were still some positives to take out of it. I think the theme to this game, though, was the up and down nature. You had people doing good things and then turning around and doing bad things. So you're trying to decide who they are.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good list of bad things. So we'll start with you start writing down some small things. Like
we'll get to the good things too, right?
Oh, absolutely. At the end.
Okay,
I always like to finish on a positive note. So if you ask me, hey, you want a good news or bad news? I always say, give me the bad news. I want to finish on the good news. Just tell me,
I agree.
Let's get the bar, hit the floor, and then you can rise to the ceiling. So, well, first and foremost, you can't give up 200 yards rushing. Well, plus, they were over 200 yards. I realize it's Chubb and Hunt, but that just can't happen. I don't want to be too hard because our big acquisition coming into the season was that we were going to have Geno and Reader right next to one another with Daniels behind them, and we still haven't gotten that, with the Geno getting hurt in camp. So we haven't really seen what it is that we were trying to build, but we just got gashed. We couldn't stop the run.
Yeah, and not only that, but when a couple guys opted out in training camp, the Mike Daniels signing was a great signing. So losing him this week was very problematic, and I don't think anybody's going to hang their hat on Christian Covington. I'm not saying he's a bad player, and he did make some plays tonight, but he's not a starting caliber defensive tackle in this league.
No, I completely agree. I just, and we have this young linebacking core, so you can't look. We don't have a Ray Lewis that's going to come in and plug the middle. We don't have that Bob Sanders coming down to make the hit, so it's not like you can steal it from other parts of your defense. But across the board, and I'm going to blame everybody. Initially, I was going to pick on Bates because I started Bates tonight on my fantasy team, and he got me like 5.5 points. And I was going to say missed tackles, and I was going to pick on Bates, but Lawson missed tackles. There was across the board, our tackling was horrific. So the Bengals could take the next 11 days and go into tackling drills because that was completely unacceptable.
I agree, and that's isn't that really the history of being a Bengals fan is missed tackles? And I don't even know, because I'm not a fan of any other team. I don't know if every fan feels that way about their team, but I know that in 35 years of being a Bengals fan, I've been talking about missed tackles. And
yeah,
I'm 42 years old, so I wasn't even 10 yet when I started complaining about arm tackles and just missing guys in the open field.
Well, I can tell you the 80s teams and the Forrest Gregg team tackled, okay? They knew how to tackle. We didn't have these problems. Go back and watch the Super Bowl 23. That team, lost on the with 34 seconds left, but that team tackled. That's why, it was 20 points for the Niners with that score. They had kept the Niners to 13 points. So those teams tackled. But this one definitely, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And the O-line has got to do a better job. One of the turning points in this game, we were just getting back into it when we drove down the field. We didn't get the Geno score, right? The Gio Bernard score. So we get the ball at the 1. And there we had more than enough opportunities to put it in the end zone. Mixon gets handed the ball. There's so much penetration on the right side of the line that he gets initial contact. we snapped the ball from the 1 or the 2 yard line, and Mixon gets contacted at the 4. And then we're down at the 5, and now we're in a throwing situation. And that's all on the O-line. It's all on the O-line.
I don't think there's a single Bengal fan out there that would say as soon as they ruled Gio down inches short of the goal line, I think every single Bengal fan in the world said, "There's no way we're getting this in."
Well,
I don't care how many tries they get it or how many tries they give us. We're not going to get it in because that's just it doesn't really have to do with it doesn't really have to do with the coaching, and it really doesn't have to do with the personnel. It's just something that goes with our name for some reason.
Well, we have a certain neuroses. As Bengal fans, we have a neuroses, and it's been ingrained in us because of what we've had to endure. So there is a certain neuroses where you automatically, and I think Browns fans kind of have a similar thing. Had we come back and won today, they would have said, "Oh, what a typical Browns ending." So you're talking about two franchises that their fan bases. That's why we don't beat each other up. I don't hate Browns fans; they don't hate us. It's like we kind of have that. We have that understanding, but
yeah, I do think it's worth mentioning that the goal line stand, like I said, I don't hate the play calling, but the downs by the Browns on defense there, and their defense didn't play that great today. The downs on that 4th and or that 1st and inches goal line stand, it was very Big Dick-alike. They really stepped up and played like Bears teams of old and just refused to give in. And we had done the same thing earlier.
Yeah, we did the same thing. Unfortunately, we had Burrow getting stripped of the ball, and we gave the ball back to him literally in the spot where we stopped the drive. I mean, how Bengals life was that? Getting the stop, getting a gift 5-yard penalty to get you off the goal line, right? So you're at the 1. Now all of a sudden you're at the 6. You start going, okay, we got some room. We get a first down out to the 20, and then you get the strip sack, and then we give them the ball back at the 1. It was like, really? We wound up right back where we started, and we don't have the ball. Okay, yeah, this is not good, but.
You're right, entirely typical. And I'll go back to the because I kind of changed the subject. I'll go back to the offensive line again. Bobby Hart still wasn't good, but wasn't as bad as last week.
Fred Johnson was our Bobby Hart this week.
Fred Johnson was really bad, and I've been a big Fred Johnson booster. And boy, did he just he just got whooped around this week. And I recognize that he's young, and I get it. And the Browns, I'll give them credit on defense. They moved Myles Garrett around. And when they saw that Fred Johnson was getting beat, they said, let's put Myles Garrett over there and see what happens. And sure enough, he just steamrolled Fred a couple times.
There was one play where I thought Burrow was going to get hurt. He almost rolled Johnson into Burrow's knees. Initially, I thought the flag was going to be, a low hit on the quarterback. But then I realized that wasn't a tackle. That was Fred Johnson being pushed into Burrow's knees. That's not a penalty. And I thought, my God.
That knee shot would have been a nightmare. If you're a Bengals fan and you didn't flash back to 2005 playoffs, then you're not a Bengals fan.
Oh my gosh! So I watched that and I was like, oh my gosh.
No.
Yeah, I mean that Fred Johnson was getting killed, almost killed Burrow. That's my comment. I just write a couple little blurbs, and that was my comment. I'm going to jump. Hate Ross. I hate Ross. There was a couple plays where he had Ross targeted, and I thought, don't throw it to Ross. Thomas, I'll take Thomas. I'll take Tate. I don't understand why Tate was a healthy scratch. Let's have Ross be a healthy scratch. Let's put Tate in there. My whole thing with John Ross is you could throw the ball up to Tate or to Thomas, and it's a 50-50 ball, okay? And it really, truly is a 50-50 ball. You throw that same ball up to Ross, it's a 80-20 ball, and it's 20% that Ross said 80% Ross gets off the turf and gets off the ground and pulls a piece of turf out of his helmet because he's gotten stuck by the corner. So I don't even want to see him out there. I don't want to see us trying to get it to him. That bothered me, and we didn't know Tate was going to be a scratch, or we would have addressed it in the preview. But I don't understand why, after a great preseason, he's a healthy scratch today. I just don't get that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I mean, when you brought it up in the preview, like we talked about, it was a great point. I think Tate should be on the field. He's obviously very talented. The only thing I can figure is that they picture Tate as the X receiver. They picture him as the AJ Green type of guy, and not the
He's
complement.
not. He doesn't have the speed.
Well, I know, but the height and the weight, I think they picture him as a backup to AJ, as opposed to being the speed guy of Ross, or the over the middle guy of Boyd, or even, I mean, Mike is a great player and was a special teams player in St. Louis for so long. And I understand why Taylor brought him in. I think he was valuable to bring in. And I get that he also has traits that are not the same as Auden Tate. I think Auden Tate would excel as a wide receiver one, not necessarily because of the speed, but because of the height and his ability.
And he's great at the contested catch.
And the ability,
that's his biggest thing. When Tate goes up for the ball, we have an 80-20 chance, if it's a smaller corner, that he's going to come down with it. So that's my whole thing with Tate. Ross drives me nuts. The other thing I have here is that I said the too many missed tackles, and also that we need to just do a better job. 11. This goes back to the offensive line, and then we're going to shift over to the good stuff. But they were averaging 11 yards a play on the first two drives. 11 yards a play. Not a pass on. Every time they ran a play, they were averaging over a first down. That cannot happen. But that just goes back to the no tackling.
Well, and they didn't even.
You're getting to the second and third levels.
Well, and they didn't even. The Browns didn't even. I think they didn't even face a third down until there were like 6 minutes to go in the second quarter.
I don't know if it's that late, but I think it was. I do think it got to their third or fourth possession, when they got to the first third down they'd faced, and when we scored a touchdown, Baker Mayfield marched them down the field and did not throw a pass. That was the thing. Not acceptable. Like I said, this all goes back to the no tackling. We didn't get pressure on Baker. I said that was going to be key. Rushing him, that's where he makes mistakes. We were able to loss containment. Dunlap lost containment. It was just the defense was a mess tonight. It really was.
Yeah, I've got it right here, or at least this is what I jotted down. Their second third down attempt was with 8 minutes to go in the second.
So is that their third or fourth possession?
And it's funny because when you analyze these games and you talk about third down conversion rate and things like that, and you say we got to convert on third, or we've got to stop them on third, nobody ever says, well, you got to stop them on second first.
Yeah.
And we clearly couldn't. They were converting second downs like it was taking candy from a baby.
You're going to average that when you're averaging 11 on the first two drives. You're averaging a first down every time you run a play. So
yeah, exactly.
But all right. So now this is half good, half bad, and it's going to transition us into the good, but it's really bad. And we were 5 for 5 on fourth down. Now you say, oh, that's great, 5 for 5. Why were you going for it 5 times on fourth down? That's because you're chasing. So that's one of those stats that, hey, congratulations, you're 5 for 5, but you shouldn't be in that situation. You're only there because you're losing. So
yeah, I don't hate that stat for two reasons. The first was in the preview that I wrote on Primetime Sports Talk today, I mentioned that we might pass up uh, a couple of fourth down field goal attempts um, for Bullock, who actually performed all right today.
Oh yeah, he was.
He bounced back, and obviously he's not hurt.
Yeah. Well, this is
I mean,
actually a great segue, because the very first thing I wrote in the good column was very special teams. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I've tweeted many times when we have screwed up, not so special teams. But today we had very special teams. Bullock was money, and think about the two returns that set us up, and we start the game out at the 40-plus yard line, and we got another long return today. So the kickoff returns were good, the kicking was good, so very special teams. That was something I had.
I mean, where I was, originally going with that was, we skipped the fourth down field goal attempt a couple of times when we were inside the 30 with still a lot of time left, even though we were chasing, where maybe you add points. But the 5 out of 5 fourth downs, I don't think can be overstated, because we're still talking about our rookie quarterback and what he's going to bring to us. And he performed very admirably in those situations.
I got it. You know what? You're right. And there's a glass half empty, glass half full. He hit Boyd, who was a clutch receiver on a lot to those. He hit Sample on a lot of those, which I actually have down. Sample looks okay. I actually was impressed with what I saw from Sample, and with Uzama, tearing his Achilles. It looks like it's an Achilles injury. He's probably done. So,
well, I think we talked about this, Mark, off camera, maybe via text. But Sample and Burrow seem to have struck up like a bestie relationship in the preseason, and I don't have a problem with that, because everybody was so down on Sample and willing to call him a bust immediately. And I'm like, dude, it's been 1 year. He's a rookie. Give him a second. The only issue I see here is that, we ran a lot of 2 tight end sets today, which I enjoyed. And I think we need to, because we need to run the ball more. Mixon only carried the ball 16 times. Mixon played pretty well, but he only got the ball 16 times. But in the AFC North, Zach Taylor learned this last year. You have to run the ball. Even if you're behind by 10 points, you've got to run the ball. And what did we do towards the end of last season? We started letting Mixon run the ball. And what happened? All of a sudden, we started playing a lot better.
Yes, but we also had a line that gelled. It was towards the end of the year that Fred Johnson kind of showed up and the line kind of gelled. We had Cordy Glenn back in, and it just made a difference. So maybe we'll see that progression this year as the line gets better. But
I agree. I agree with you. My only concern is at the tight end position, if you're going to do that, the 2 tight end set is really important. So Uzama going down as the pass catcher doesn't concern me. Uzama going down as one of our 2 tight ends in that situation does.
All right. Well, probably add somebody then, or somebody off the practice squad. I don't know who's behind him, so we'll have to talk about that in the next preview. But
for sure.
But that was it. So I liked I put great opening drive, because I just like the fact that we came out and threw it deep. I complained that we didn't start that till the third quarter on Sunday. Here, it was the first play from scrimmage. I think it's important to kind of stretch the field, but I did like that. And I said Burrow's timing was much better in terms of he got rid of the ball. I mean, the strip sack was because the guy came in. That's not on Burrow. So
no, he was victimized on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other thing, Higgins looked good, but Boyd looked great. I mean, hell, welcome to the 2020 season, Tyler Boyd. What a steal. That whole draft, when you think about it, we wanted Treadwell. There was somebody else that they wanted us to get. I can't remember who. Well, Dotson off of TCU. Everybody wanted that. But Gruden sniped one, and Zimmer sniped the other, and Bengal fans were complaining, and there was Tyler Boyd in the second round, and what a gift he's been. I love him.
Yeah, and if I could pat myself on the back, I'll say that in our preview, I told everybody that in fantasy football terms, this is when you got to go Tyler Boyd. And what did he do? He turned around 7 catches, 73 yards, added a touchdown. If you're in PPR, that's 20 points. That's
Right.
pretty amazing.
And he was clutch. I don't know how many it was on fourth down, but it was at least 2, maybe 3 of the 5 fourth downs.
Yeah.
Not on first down and fourth down. See, that's the Kona kicking in. We're Tyler Boyd. He's so clutch. When the ball's going to him, I don't even worry. I don't think about it. It's just, oh, good, it's Tyler Boyd. John Ross, another story. So, but
yeah, John, and you know what? The John Ross thing is, it's funny you mention that, because I don't even think I wrote it down, but I thought this numerous times during the game. We've continued a theme tonight that we started last week, and that was, I understand that Burrow is a rookie and he's not quite got his touch yet and his connection down with his receivers. But man, he's throwing an awful lot of balls up that should be caught. And I'm talking about everybody: AJ, T, John Ross. He's throwing up a lot of balls that are fingertips that in my opinion should be pulled in. And it's easier for me to sit here on the couch and say you should have made that catch, but I'm not talking about things you got to lay out for. I'm just saying, why you got alligator arms right now?
Well, there was a pass to AJ that was behind him that he could have caught, but I don't want to be too bad, because early on in that first drive, he caught one over the middle and took the hit. He knew 2 guys were closing in on him.
Oh, a couple times he did.
Yeah,
a couple times he did.
So AJ, but I do see Burrow's chemistry with the receivers getting better and better. We see better timing today. I don't want him throwing the ball 60 times. I don't want him running 7 times. I would like to cut those back, but we definitely saw another step forward, I think, tonight for Burrow, which was my last positive. I really feel like I saw better chemistry with Boyd, with Green. And like you said, Sample had that great one-handed grab. It was where he reached out with that bear paw, just pulled it in. I was like, that's when I wrote that note. Sample looks, and when I say Sample looks okay, it's how you get ear inflection. Sample looks okay. Wow, Sample looks okay.
Yeah,
that's how I wrote it. Okay, it was like
that. That was good stuff. And I think what we can take from this is, I'm not terribly concerned about the offense. I agree with you. There's no way you want Joe Burrow throwing the ball 60 times, which goes back to my original point.
For running, yes.
There's no reason that Joe Mixon is only running 16 times. That's pretty ridiculous.
Right.
But I get that it's how the game played out, and I also recognize that Zach Taylor is he wants to pass. Like, he comes from that Rams system,
quarterback coach.
Where and he's a quarterback coach.
He's a quarterback coach. It's
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think the offense did pretty well, and I'm not terribly concerned about it at all. It's the defense we have to get together, but the offensive line has to be addressed somehow. And I mean,
they need to scheme better. And the program I always point to is Seattle. Russell Wilson always has a shitty line, okay? But he has the ability to move around, and Burrow has that same ability, and Pete Carroll schemes a plan to help him out. They don't ask the offensive line to do things they're not capable of doing. So that's where I really want to see Turner and Zach start scheming. You can do things to help them out, to cover weaknesses, to play more to strengths, and I'm hoping it develops. They've got this mini bye coming up, and that's what I'm hoping for. I mean, I'm hoping, and we've got to get Daniels back. We cannot go into the next game. I think we're going to Philly, aren't we? Is it week 3 Philly?
Yeah, I don't even know. It's
either Philly or Jacksonville, but I think it's Philly. So
I'm so caught up with Cleveland. I agree.
But either way, those are tough. Those are tough defense. We have got to work that out.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those situations where I was not an apologist, but I defended our lack of moves on the offensive line as saying, for some reason, the coaches think that it's going to be all right. And so I trust them. I believe in it. And of course, every other Bengals fan is screaming, no, 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 offensive line terrible. And but yeah, after 2 games, I'm starting to say, there's not a lot of trades in the NFL, but if you can put John Ross and somebody else together just for an upgrade on the right
or a
side.
backup guard or tackle, I would take
Just
Ross and somebody else for a backup guard and tackle.
well, frankly, a backup guard would probably be an upgrade right now.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Well, from backup guard from another team, yeah.
Exactly.
So, but all right, well, it is what it is. So we move on to next week. We've gotten a great response with this two-man format. So this is going to be the format going forward. So I guess this is the moment where I'm officially welcoming you to the show for the rest of the season, because this is going to be the format. So I think the show's better. The comments, everything we've had says that this is what we're going forward with. I really love it. Sam,
I certainly appreciate it, Mark. And obviously we've been friends a long time before this. But yeah, I agree. And it seems like people are liking this. So
yeah.
anybody that wants to drop a comment in there, let us know what you're thinking. Let us know questions. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll do that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about one of the things that we don't, we're covering the Bengals here, but I play fantasy. I'm in a dynasty league, so with individual defensive players. So I've got a lot of stuff there. And I'm a gambler. I mean, I play parlay cards. I won the over 10.5 second half with the Bengals tonight. I won the Bengals plus 1.5 second half on a parlay. I still won money tonight. So anytime, we're going to try to develop segments where we're talking fantasy, maybe talk pick of the week and gambling. We're going to work in some different things. I think it's going to be great. And it'll evolve as the season goes, but I'm really looking forward to it.
I really hate to admit this to Bengals fans, but I made an absolute killing on Nick Chubb over 6.5 or 65.5 yards rushing tonight.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is a slam dunk. This is no issue.
We're going to have to talk. We're going to have to do a segment one time on propositions, because people don't realize some of the gamblers are always focused on over and unders. And I could do a whole thing on that, talking about how too many people go on the over all the time. And a lot of times the under is the play. But not just that, but the propositions where you're over on team totals, on carries, on completions. I know a friend of mine just had a really nice hit, covered himself on a loss on Sunday night with the Dak Prescott on how many attempts he would have. It was over 23, and it was like nothing. I mean, that was that.
I will throw in there that we were both terribly wrong about the under this week.
Oh yeah, but I didn't bet it. I was very concerned. I teased the Bengals.
I think you said 2016. I said 24-17. It went well over 46.
Oh yeah. But I didn't bet the over. I felt better about the Bengals. I teased the Bengals on 2 different cards, and we were close. I had 14. I had bought the extra point. I had 14.5, and so when we got to 12, we were getting close, but still never really worried. So
right.
But
well, I'm happy to see so many people watching right now.
So we will be back with a preview. Obviously, we get the Bengal fans enjoy the weekend. Root against the Steelers, root against the Ravens. We get the extra time. We'll be back with the preview and then a recap. For week 3. I want everybody to stay healthy, happy, and it's Who Day to everybody.
Who Day?
Oh, Sam, before we forget, tell them where they can find you again.
Oh, sure. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You, and I write for primetimesportstalk.com.
So, and I apologize for forgetting the talk in the beginning. That was
no big deal.
So, but all right, well, everybody, Who Day, everybody, and we'll see you guys before week 3. Take care.
Who Day.